In the previous lesson, we conditionally rendered a new label based on the current value of the loginMode state property. And perhaps intentionally or perhaps unintentionally, there is a small bug in our code, and that is that we are rendering our confirm password label on the actual login version of the form. We want the inverse, right? We want the user to see confirm password when the user is in registration mode, not when the user is in login mode. So our syntax here is totally correct as far as React, but our business logic is not. So what I want to do is invert this logic when the user is not in the login mode. In other words, when the user is in the registration mode is when I want to render this label. So how can I have this logic? Well, I want to take whatever is the current value of this Boolean and I want to flip it. I want to invert it. I want to take the opposite. If the user is not in login mode, that's when I want to render this label. So in order to flip this, what I'm going to do is add an exclamation point in front of login mode. That is totally valid JavaScript syntax. Whenever you put an exclamation point before a Boolean, or in this case, a variable or constant that evaluates to a Boolean, the exclamation point flips it around to the opposite. So when the user is in login mode, this is going to be true, right? But we're going to flip it to false. And because this evaluates to false, we are not going to render this bit of JSX. Conversely, when login mode is set to false, so when the user is not in login mode, we're going to flip this to true, and that's going to evaluate to true, which means we are going to render this JSX, and we're thus going to see this label on the registration version of the form. So this is going to get us where we want to, and this is a good thing to learn as well. Sometimes you don't have a perfect Boolean, you need to do the opposite Boolean or the inversion of the Boolean to get the correct way to render that bit of JSX in React. So I'm going to save this, and you'll notice we now start off in registration mode because our login mode is false when the component renders. So right here we see confirm password, and when I switch to login, you can see it's gone, flip back to registration mode, and it comes back. So everything is working just like it was before, but now we have the correct business logic in our app. And I will see you in the next lesson.